Good morning, students. So, in today's class, we will see the topic of dielectric heating. So, in previous class, we have discussed about the resistance welding controls and induction heating, which are the fourth unit topics. And now we will see the dielectric heating. So, now we will see what is dielectric heating and what is the theory of dielectric heating and applications. We will see now. So, first, we will see what is dielectric heating. So dielectric heating means whenever we place an insulating material. So I think you already have a idea about insulating materials, conducting materials and semiconductors, right? So conductors means which allows current through them perfectly, and insulators means which does not allow current through them. So we can say examples like wood, glass, rubber. So they do not allow the current through them. The materials which does not allow electricity through them are called as insulators. So whenever we place such kind of an insulating material in an alternating electric field, the atoms will be get stressed, and because of that inner atomic friction, heat will be produced, and this heating process is known as a dielectric heating. So I repeat again, whenever we place an insulating material to an alternating electric field, the atoms get be stressed, and because of the interatomic friction, heat will be produced, and this heating process is known as a dielectric heating. And this interatomic friction caused by repeated deformation and rotation of the atomic structure. Now we will see the electronic theory of a dielectric heating. So when an atom is not under any electric field, the centers of the positive and negative charges coincide as shown in the figure, and atom acts as a na- neutral particle. So here you can see in the first figure. So when we don't apply any electric field, the centers will consist of a positive charge and as well as a negative charge. And when an atom is subjected to an electric field, the charge distribution is distributed. The atom in this state is said to be polarized. As the electric field increases, the degree of polarization keeps increasing. So whenever we don't apply any electric field, then atoms will be neutral. Whenever we apply electric field, so it will be increases. Whenever the electric field increases, the degree of polarization keeps increasing. And it is seen that the loss increases with the increase in the frequency and strength of the electric field. So if the electric field is very strong, it may result in a rupture of the dielectric medium. Hence, in dielectric heating, it is desirable not to apply high voltages but to use high frequencies. So there is a relation between the with the frequency and strength to the electric field. Whenever there is an increase in the frequency and strength of the electric field, loss also increases. Now we will see the what is the basic principle of operation of a dielectric heating. So in this process, the material to be heated is placed between the two electrodes, and the electrodes are fed with a high frequency supply. So for example, if I want to heat a particular any object or anything, I have to place that material in between the two electrodes, and I have to supply high frequency to that electrodes, and that arrangement is shown in the figure. So here you can see, so middle one is our material which we are going to heat, and there are two electrodes. So in between the two electrodes we are placing that material. The two electrodes acts as the two plates of the capacitor, and the job acts as the dielectric material between the two electrodes. So here the material acts like a insulating material, and both the electrodes are like this. The current flowing in the circuit is given by IC is equal to E by XC. So here IC means nothing but current flowing through the capacitor, and E means nothing but a high frequency supply voltage, and XC means nothing but a capacitive reactance. So the phenomenon of a dielectric loss taking place in insulating material is just analogous to the hysteresis loss in magnetic materials. Now we will see the sources of high frequency supply for dielectric heating. Dielectric heating operates on the principle of converting a high frequency electric energy into a heat energy. So the basic arrangement of a dielectric heater is shown in the following figure. So here we can see the figure. The AC supply voltage is stepped up by means of a step-up transformer and further rectified by a bridge rectifier. So here you can clearly observe. So first we are having a step-up transformer, single phase 230 volts AC source, and then it is given to the bridge rectifier, and here we are having a filter circuit, then high voltage DC and oscillator circuit, and finally electrodes and the workpiece which we are going to be heated. The ripple components are minimized by the use of LC filter. So we know ripple means the presence of AC is known as a ripple. This ripple free high voltage DC is fed to an RF oscillator, and this RF oscillator produces a high frequency that is about 1 MHz or above. Since the energy conversion takes place throughout the workpiece, the heating effect is uniform. Now we will see the dielectric equation. So here we can see P is equal to E squared 2 pi Fa K naught K or delta by D. So here A means nothing but area of electrode, K naught is the absolute permittivity, K or is the relative permittivity, and delta is a phase angle which is a complement of a power factor angle, and D is the distance between the electrodes. So now we will see the factors which affecting the dielectric heating. So the amount of heat generated is directly proportional to square of the supply voltage, frequency, area of the electrode plates, and relative permittivity of dielectric and power factor. So all these factors are directly proportional to the heat which is generated in the circuit, and the heat is inversely proportional to the distance between the two electrodes. And now we'll see the features of a dielectric heating. So as far as possible, a uniform electric field should be employed for these two essential conditions, or the two electrodes should be larger than the size of the job. So it means that suppose if I want to heat an object, the two electrodes must be greater than that object, and the length of the electrodes should be more than the distance between them. There is a limit up to which the supply voltage should be limited to avoid corona and arcing effect. So we have to maintain a supply voltage which should be avoid these effects. And the charge must touch each plate. There should be no air gap between the electrodes, which will otherwise introduce a series capacitance and causes loss of efficiency. So we have to observe that there must be the charge must be touch each plate, and there should not be an air gap between that electrodes. In case of a heating non-conducting material, dielectric heating is the most efficient method for uniform heating. So in case of heating a non-conducting material, so conducting material means we know the material which passes electricity through them, and non-conducting materials means we can say like insulators. So in case of a heating the insulating materials, dielectric heating is the most efficient method for the uniform heating. And now we will see the applications of the dielectric heating. So this method is extensively used in plastic and wood industries, and it is specifically immense utility where multiply woods are to be heated and glued, and this method is also employed in the textile, rubber, chemical and food industries, sterilization of food and medical supplies. Plastic sheets are joined together by the technique involving combination of heat and pressures. So this method is variously used in the industries like textile industry, rubber industry, chemical industries and food industries, plastic and wood industries. And also this is used for the purpose of sterilization of food and medical supplies. And this technique is also very useful for the manufacturing of plastic products such as raincoats and waterproof products. And this method is used for the manufacturing of polyvinyl material products. And dielectric heating is used for RF circuits is a quicker method of heating as compared to the others. So it is the we can say it is the best method for the RF circuits in a quicker method for the heating purpose compared to the other techniques. And this method is also having some issues or problems, we can say. What are they? Now we will see. So whenever a job is being heated, the air dielectric is replaced by the job, which causes variation in resonant frequency of a tuning circuit. So here the job means the object which we are going to heat, and the electrode structure is to be designed properly, and for the efficient heating proper field is to be established within the job being heated. So for the efficient heating purpose, we have to establish within the job being heated. And also the voltage gradient is another problem. Because of the non-uniform voltage gradient, non-uniform heating takes place, and because of the some air gaps between the electrodes, and and job for a number of reasons such as irregular shape of the job, keeping the provision for movement of a job between the electrodes, and non-uniform heating required for the different parts of the jobs, etc. So all these are the problems regarding to the dielectric heating. Now we will see the difference between the induction heating and dielectric heating. So in previous class I have explained you about the induction heating. Now we will see what is the major difference between the induction heating and dielectric heating. So induction heating is caused by the eddy currents in imperfect dielectrics, whereas in dielectric heating is depending upon the electrostatic effect. And also the operating frequencies are of the order of 200 to 500 kilohertz in the induction heating, whereas in here the operating frequencies are ranging from 1 to 50 megahertz in dielectric heating. So these are the difference between the dielectric heating and induction heating. And we can say induction heating is also called as a surface heating, whereas in dielectric heating is called as a volume heating. And the cost of the equipment required for the induction heating is less, whereas for the dielectric heating is comparatively very high. So these are the differences between the induction heating and dielectric heating. So that's it for the today's class. So in today's class, we have seen what is a dielectric heating and what is the theory of dielectric heating. And then we have seen about the applications and differences between the induction heating and dielectric heating. So now I will tell you some direct dielectric constant and power factor of some materials. So for example, for the hard rubber, the relative dielectric constant will be 2.8 to 3.2, and the power factor will be 0.3 to 0.8. And for a glass, the relative dielectric constant will be 5.5 to 9, and power factor will be 0.2 to 0.4. And for porcelain, the dielectric constant will be 5.5 and the power factor is 0.8. And for rayon, the dielectric constant is 2.1 and power factor is 8.5. And for firewood, the dielectric constant is 3.7 and power factor is 4.7. So that's it for the today's class. Thanks for watching.